Okay, guys, I want to say hello to our members from the United States, from Canada, from United Kingdom, and Poland, which are the main audience that we have, and the rest of you guys who are watching the channel. Thank you as well, and welcome aboard. And a special thanks to the people from Toronto, from New York, from London, from LA, from Chicago, and Dallas that are for most of our viewers or our views come from. And where are you from? Let us know in the comments down below. We need to know so we can do this in every podcast, so we can thank you again for watching and consuming this video podcast. If you're new here, you can support the channel by going to buymeacoffee.com. That's going to be the best way that you have to support the channel. And it's going to be cheaper than probably a cup of coffee that you will pay in the country that you're watching this from. My name is Alex Rodriguez and Gabby, and we both are creating this valuable content for you guys about Cuba so far, but we're trying to implement some international topic. If you want to do that, go to buymeacoffee.com. And if you're planning to visit Cuba and you would love to have us to help you organizing your trip, go to Imcurrentlyin.com, which is going to be the best platform to use when it comes to traveling to Cuba and know the culture of Cuba. With that being said, thank you so much for watching and listening to this video podcast, and see you guys in the next one. Ciao, pescado. Hello guys, welcome back to yet another crazy podcast, which is Imcurrentlyin, and today we're going to be talking about the culture in Cuba. Gabby is going to be talking 99.9% of the time because she's very deep about this. She's very cultural, and we're going to be talking about the poetry in Cuba, dancing, music, all these topics that if you're traveling to Cuba thinking about the culture, this podcast is for you.
Yeah.
So, hello Gabby, how are you?
Well, very well. With a lot of hot here, very hot here in Cuba. And actually, I think in California, it's the same. A lot of hot, like too much.
Where are you talking about California? When I move?
Yeah, I'm thinking of moving to California right now.
We're in Cuba.
Tomorrow, I'm going to California.
I have no idea where you're talking about California. It's like...
Yeah, in the United States, it's very hot, too.
But what? I don't get it.
Don't worry, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, but I'm in Cuba. I'm not in California or United States.
But the people that are hearing the podcast maybe are in California.
That's true. That's true. Let us know, guys, in the comment below where you're coming or where you're watching or listening to this podcast from, and how hot it is. So, coming back to Cuba, the culture in Cuba, we're going to be talking about the culture in Cuba. So, what do you want to talk about first? Because I know that you love poetry in Cuba. I know that you have read a lot about this.
Well, I think we have to start about culture in general.
Okay. So
we have this video that I was talking about this, and Fernando Ortiz say that Cuba is like an ajiaco.
Who's Fernando Ortiz first?
Was an I don't know, historiador. Someone who knows a lot about Cuban culture and history.
Okay.
And he defines Cuban culture and Cuba in general as an ajiaco, like a mixture. If you are watching this and you don't know what is an ajiaco is like a mixture. It's a soup with a lot of vegetables and meat, a lot of things from a lot of countries and something like that. And it's exactly what Cuba is. We have things from Africa, we have things from China, we have things from Spain, United States, even England. So
California
too, of course. And all these countries have its mark here in the Cuban culture, cuisine, everything. So if we are going to talk about culture in general, we have to start from there. We don't have like something in a specific that is completely Cuban, because anywhere have these kind of things. We have this mixture, we have these kind of things that, I don't know, drinks from everywhere, no? And I think the main influence that we have here in Cuba, it's from Spain and Africa.
Yeah.
I don't know if you think the same.
Yeah, the same with the religion.
Exactly, when the conquerors come here in the 15th century, they bring their culture, like in the forest way, and they bring the slaves from Africa, and this mixture, it's like the principal influence that we have from Africa and Spain. in the religious way, in the music, you can find this a lot of societies, the Asturian society. I don't know, the other one is Gallego. I don't know Gallego in English, how to say this.
Gallego is people from Spain that they
Galicia, from Galicia,
yeah.
people from Galicia. And all these societies were here in Cuba. Actually, they are in Cuba right now. And they have these costumbres, traditions.
Traditions. Yes.
They maintain all that traditions from Spain.
Now that you mentioned that, I was before coming here, I was
Yeah.
looking for some other topics to talk.
Yeah.
And I want to talk in the next podcast
Wait.
about the traditions in Cuba
Yeah.
because I was like, okay, this is a very interesting topic, but it's huge.
Yeah.
So we can have easily another podcast about the tradition.
Of course.
In Cuba. So go ahead.
What I was talking?
About the culture in Cuba, how all this.
Oh, and the traditions. And from Africa, the religious and the music are the main influence that we can see and we can touch and watch everywhere. We have this, Sarah, my friend from England, I was talking about the principal hotspots, so where you can see the culture. And I think Callejón de Hamel, I think it's, I don't know in English,
Callejón de Hamel, it's like
Hamel Street or something like that.
Hamel Valley. And Hamel, oh shit, I forgot.
It's like a boulevard, I think, at some point. But
Callejón de Hamel.
we can search.
I knew how to say it in English because they have a way
I
of-
have a post about it. Let me
Okay.
check. Because a few months ago, Jack and I took some pictures there, and I write something about it. Let me check.
But
the
while you check
internet
that,
can-
I was looking for some information in the internet and I found a website
Yeah.
that they said that the culture in Cuba is celebrated around the world, especially its music. Its music is an important part of Cuban society. And the traditional music styles are still popular and influential to these days.
Yeah.
Cuba is a vibrant country full of music, poetry, dancing, singing, and chatting. You know what chatting is?
I don't know. Maybe they are talking about the repentismo or the decima in this chatting, because I don't know if it's this conversation or something like that.
Chatting, what I was looking for, they was like the way that we communicate among us, like when you walk and you talk to people, it's
De hacer
like,
que volar, something like that.
yeah, and the way that you talk to women, for example, like mommy, you know,
My favorite.
yeah,
Ugh.
stuff like that. So
Yeah.
they say people still have time to each other of their guests. Cuban culture has managed to preserve the past while still maintaining forward movement. When visiting Cuba, it is like going back in time to the 1950s. All vintage cars, a relaxed atmosphere, and no heroes. That's true. So overall, that's part of the Cuban culture.
A lot of people say that we are like stuck in the time. We are in the 1950s. I don't know. It's something that you can see in the buildings, in the cars. But
And some people also.
yeah,
Some
some people are like in the 60s, I will say.
So do you find the article?
The internet connection right now, literally, it's shit.
That's why I take screenshots because I don't know.
But don't worry. Callejón de Hamel, I was
Okay.
saying. So you can search in the internet and put Callejón de Hamel. You can put the name below. And it's one of the main hotspots of the African culture in Havana. It's in Havana Center. And it's very colorful. So you can find, I think in Sundays, they have like all these rumba, dancing, and it's
They
very
have like
colorful.
a rumba celebration, something
Yeah.
like that. At 2 p.m.,
and
I
it's
think.
huge. They record a lot of music and videos there.
It's completely free.
Yeah.
So you can go. If you love religion in Cuba or you want to know more about the culture, African culture in Cuba, that's one of the places that you should go.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I want you to talk about the poetry in Cuba. This is very important. We have a lot of important people, important writers, important all this kind of culture about the poetry in Cuba.
Intellectual people
Yeah,
in
exactly.
general.
You're one of them. So
Oh,
go ahead and tell us, what do you know about the poetry in Cuba? Who are the people that you will recommend reading for those who wants to know about the poetry in Cuba? And when it comes to poetry in Cuba, once again, what can you tell about that?
well, the poetry tradition here in Cuba, it's very, very old. I mean, if you think about Cuba, a lot of people say Che, but when I close my eyes and think about Cuba, Jose Marti, for example, is one of the examples that came to my mind immediately.
I don't know why people talk about. Sorry, I don't know why people talk about Che. First of all, Che is not Cuban.
Yeah.
I mean,
was.
well, yes, but I still saying it is because we say we
It's
see
alive
Che.
in your heart.
No way, but he is like everywhere.
Yeah.
So people stay
90% of the souvenir stores sells like these
the hats,
the hats with the
t-shirts,
image of the Che and the
everything, yeah.
t-shirts, even the bills, the
Yeah.
3 CUP bills with the image of El Che are selling in very high prices.
So I don't know. And he was. I mean, he wrote a lot of books. That's okay, but I don't think he's a portrait. And
No, at all.
so
I think Martí and all the people say that is one of the most universal Cubans around the world. So you can find poetry that he wrote, you can find articles, you can find speech, I don't know, species
Yeah,
are
yeah.
the name, a lot of species around Latin America and Europe. And it's one of the main sources that you have to drink when you're trying to immerse in the Cuban culture. With Martí, I would recommend to this is not a most known poetry or something like that, but it's very good. Her name was Mercedes Matamoros, was a woman, and she was living in the time of Martí. So in that time, I'm talking about 18th century, she couldn't write with her name. It was completely forbidden. So she used like a nickname or something like that.
okay.
And Martí shared a lot of I don't know, mails. Is the name?
Letters.
Letters. Sorry, it's the
Yeah, I know.
yeah, a lot of letters with her because she was very, very good. And right now we can see a lot of works from her, and it was amazing. And the thing about her, it was the way that she wrote, a very intimate, with a lot of intimacy and some things that were completely forbidden in that age. The other name that I will recommend is Dulce María Loinás. It's for, I don't know, 1950s, 60s, I think she was born.
Sorry. Before talking about Jose María Loinás,
Yeah,
for those who don't know who Jose Martí is, because
Yeah.
probably people don't know.
the national hero of Cuba.
Okay.
He was a writer, but he was a complete, he wrote, he went to the war,
He was and is one of the most important,
yeah,
iconic.
image of Cuba.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the peoples that we really have to associate with Cuba, not El Che.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a man from Argentina that came to Cuba and fight, okay, brave, but it's not the image or the...
Nothing compared to Jose Martí.
No, at all, at all.
No.
What I was saying?
Jose María Loinás.
Dulce.
Dulce.
Dulce María Loinás.
I'm not a poetry guy.
Jose María Loinás. Well, we have Jose María Heredia, so... But he was from 18th century, and he wrote a poem. It was like, I don't know in English, Desterrado.
Forget about it. I'm going to put it here.
A poem that is very
Okay.
famous and very, very, I don't know, sentido.
Feeling?
No, but
Are
like
you
the
mean
adjective.
touched?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think. I was talking about Dulce.
Okay.
And Dulce María Loinás and Carilda Oliver Labra. They are from years. They actually died very, very soon, so, you know. But they have a lot of poems that are completely good. And actually, a lot of people say that Carilda has like a romance with Fidel. I don't know.
That's mystery.
Yeah, it's
Legends.
a mystery, but it's like in Spanish it's like secreto a voces. I don't know in English how we can say that.
I would say rumors, but I don't
Yeah,
know how-
rumors.
Yeah.
A lot of rumors about it, but I don't know. I prefer to recognize her for the things that she wrote that are very, very good. Let me think about Leonardo Padura. You know who is?
You talked to me. You've been talking to me about that since we met, actually. Because
Yeah, one of my favorite writers from Cuba, and he's still alive. Thanks God. He wrote this book called "A Man Who Loved the Dogs." I think. Sí, A Man Who Loved the Dogs in English. In Spanish, is El Hombre que amaba a los perros, and it's amazing because have two histories from a Mexican guy and a Spanish guy. I don't know. I will not say anything about it because I will be like saying spoilers at all. But Leonardo Madura is one of the writers that you really need to find if you want to know about Cuban culture and all these things. Let me check in my mind what other writer right now. It's very important to check.
you mentioned it, Jose Martí.
Oh, Nicolás Guillén. It's the national writer or the national poet. It's the perfect, I don't know, attribute to.
Way to say it.
Yeah. He has a lot of poems talking about this ajiaco that we talk in the beginning of the podcast, and the influence of an African grandpa and a Spanish grandpa. And I think it's very good for the people. He talks about the music. He talks about all these mixture, all these confluence of cultures, and I think it's very good for.
Do you know any like professional writer that we could have in the podcast? Of course, that person would need to speak in English. Do you know anyone?
I have to think about it because I know writers. You know that I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
writers.
Well, they need to speak.
But
Yes.
we need someone who speaks in English.
That would be a really nice interview
Yeah.
because
And being a writer in Cuba, it's such a complicated question
yeah.
thing. So
yeah.
it will be interesting for the people to know how it is.
I think it's not being a writer, but because you can be the writer, but the way that you need to express.
Exactly, and the things that you say in your texts and in your poems, it's complicated. The other one that I have to say, I didn't mention it. It's Alejo Carpentier. It's complicated because
The way to understand it.
yeah. For example, he has a book called in Spanish is El Reino de este Mundo.
Very famous one.
I don't know in English.
The
The kingdom of this world.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm saying right now. But in this book, he called the horse in 5 or 6 ways, different ways. So you are like, you're talking about the same thing? Yeah, it was a bit. And it was like a little issue about his nationality. Because France claimed him as their writer, but Alejo Carpentier was Cuban, so it was like all this problem about his image. I don't know, but it's very good, complicated but good. José Lezama Lima. Oof.
That's another one that I have heard about.
José Lezama Lima has a book called Paradiso, creo que es. I think it's like that. It's like this. It's very, very big and complicated to read. But a lot of people recommend this book.
When you say complicated, it's because the way they
The
write.
language, the way he wrote it. But a lot of people recommend this book. And he talked about all these architecture things in Havana. He lived near to the old square.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he walked all these streets and talk about the crystals, the colorful crystals in the buildings, about everything, every details that we couldn't see because we are walking and we are like the horses just looking to the front, and it's very good. I'm thinking about it's like I was saying to you, Cuba has a lot of writers across the history, and maybe I'm telling the most important that came to my mind, but there are others. I will.
Don't worry.
I will.
Take a break.
No, because I was trying to say something in English, but I was thinking in Spanish, and it was like a mixture of language. And like I was saying to you, we have a long tradition in the letters, in the culture in general. And I was talking about the letters, but the music is something very important. And you say about the traditions. I'm not gonna talk about the traditions because this is for another podcast, but maybe some some things about it. You know the décima, the repentismo. I don't know in Spanish, in English.
I don't know the word.
Well, décima repentismo is it's the name. When you think about it, you think it's something from Cuba, right? But no.
It's not Cuban.
Well, exactly, the repentismo is from Cuba, but this way to write like the decima and the combinations that they made was born in Spain in, I think it was the 13th or 14th century.
Wow.
And they across the years and crossed the continents to Latin America. And you can find this decima that we call repentismo with all these instruments like the tres, no sé si...
Tres is an instrument.
Tres. And the Cuban the guitar and something like that. And when you travel to Mexico, you will find something called son jareño and has the same structure, but with other style of music, more Mexican. So we can find all these points of culture all over the continent, and it's something amazing because we can find this huella,
The mark.
this mark across the years and across the generation to generation, and it's amazing because sometimes we thought, the repentismo and decima, it's from Cuba. No. Every country has its own kind of way to assimilate the culture from Spain or the culture from Portugal. And
Like we talked in the beginning, Cuba is mixed.
Exactly.
From Africa, Spain, other religions.
And actually,
other
here in
countries.
Havana, we have this Chinese neighborhood with all these traditions and the martial arts. And you maybe
Chinatown.
Yeah, the Chinatown here in Cuba, very near from here. We have China. We have this Callejón de Hamel is like one of the most important places
Areas.
to see the African culture. I talk about the societies that you can see the Spanish culture, and the Spanish culture is everywhere. Like you go to maybe the Arms Square, the architecture. They were very creative. Well, we came to Cuba, so we are going to build, I don't know, a morro. But if we go to Costa Rica, we are going to build a morro. And if we go to Puerto Rico, actually, I have a friend from Puerto Rico. I will say it in Spanish, Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico is like, maybe Holly say Puerto Rico, but I'm a Cuban. So, in Puerto Rico, she sent me some pictures. I don't know if you saw the statue about it.
No.
She went to El Viejo San Juan in Puerto Rico.
It's very similar to Havana.
When you go to La Loma del Ángel here in Old Havana, it's exactly the same. And she told me, Gabby, I thought,
Thought. De pensar.
Yeah?
Thought.
Yeah. I thought a lot about you because it was the same. I feel the same when I was walking, and even the Malecon, the same things. They weren't very creative about these colonies. But it's something that you can see in Mexico, in Colombia, in Puerto Rico, in Cuba, and I don't know, maybe El Salvador, you can find these things. Actually, El Salvador has a lot of beautiful beaches. I didn't know about it. A lot of beaches, and they were very good. But like I was telling to you, the English people were like monks here, so we can see this mark too much in the people. But I think the cañonazo, I don't know in English how to say.
Shot.
Yeah, cannon shot is like a tradition from the Spanish when they close the doors of the city, and it's amazing. I don't know. This is a traditional thing. So.
We're going to be talking about that in next podcast.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah. It's a lot of things.
information. I talk about the music.
What can you tell of what? Go ahead.
No. Tell me.
No, I wanted to ask you about if you know something about dancing in Cuba besides salsa.
I'm a great dancer.
Which, let me tell you, many people think that salsa came from Cuba.
No,
which
at
is
all.
not Cuba at all.
No.
I mean, in Cuba we dance. Well, we don't. But you do? Do you dance?
A great dancer.
Okay.
All the movements.
I'm
all
not.
the forbidden movements.
I'm not. ¿Tú bailas salsa? No.
Seba is a great dancer.
So salsa is not from Cuba, actually.
No.
People think about that. And there are so many people that have talked about this. And in New York, for example, this is where many of the rhythms that in Cuba nowadays are very famous, like salsa, for example, they came from.
Yeah.
Very Cuban, that you could say is like originally from Cuba, danzón, for example. The danzón,
I think
born
it's a
in
national
Matanzas-
dance.
Yeah, it danced. It was born in Matanzas. People don't know about that. They say, okay, I want to go to Cuba to dance salsa. Yeah, but what about danzón, cha-cha-cha,
Casino.
rumba, casino? Yeah. What can you tell me about that? Do you know anything about dancing in Cuba?
Well, like I was telling you, I'm a great dancer. So I don't know how to explain this because I'm not a great dancer at all. Even the
But I saw some stories of you.
no. Oh.
I don't know. You published something like moving like this.
I have a friend. I have a friend who is a writer and a dancer, and she was like move to here and from there. I was like just flowing.
Does she speak English?
No.
Oh shit. We need to bring a lot of people. I want to talk. Actually, I need to have an architecture. I need to have a poetry. I have to probably a dancer. These people might be having a lot of information about that.
Yeah. Because from about dance, I don't have like a lot of information, but it's important to know about the danzón. Was born in Matanzas, and there is a group called Failde. In Spanish, is Orquesta Failde, and they are defending this rhythm very well and very attractive to the young people. Because a lot of people say like, oh, the danzón is something for the old people. It's like too slow, but it's beautiful. It's part of our culture, so we have to maintain that. The other one, it's I have this in my mind and I completely forgot it. This is this is your fault.
It's my fault.
Yeah. We have danzón, casino, cha-cha-cha. We have the cha-cha-cha, and
Rumba.
there is a new one called timba.
Timba.
It's a mixture of everything.
Yeah. And it dance, like if you want to dance timba, you gotta be a good dancer
Yeah.
because it's super fast.
And I'm not going to talk about the reggaeton here in Cuba because it's a
reggaeton-
completely whole world.
Yeah, it's a modern music that we are creating. Actually, Cuba has its own reggaeton.
But you can find even in the reggaeton this pattern, this rhythm pattern.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I don't know, I don't remember, but I was watching like a video where the reggaeton came from. And there's some of the rhythms from the reggaeton that it came from Africa as well.
Yeah.
Actually,
even the reggae.
one of the most famous songs that you can hear nowadays, they say rhythm, they say patterns from some original.
Yeah, it's common. I don't know
music
if you
from
saw
Africa,
the threads. Oh, I'm doing like it. The threads that I post.
Threads. We are in threads.
Yeah,
you
we
can
are in
follow
threads.
us
We are in threads. The threads that I post about you know what are the TED Talks?
The what?
TED Talks.
Oh, yeah.
This speech that
Yeah.
people. And you know about Jorge Drexler? He's one of the.
I was watching one actually today about traveling from Alan.
Yeah, they
Fernando.
have a lot of topics and a lot of people around
It's
the
very
world.
interesting.
Yeah, I love it. And this guy Jorge Drexler is a singer from Uruguay, and he was talking about poetry, music, and identity. And he was talking about something that I found really interesting, and it's the milonga. Milonga, it's the typical kind of songs of Uruguay, and half this pattern is like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I'm not a musician, but it was something like that. And this rhythm came from Africa and traveled all over the continent. And then Astor Piazzolla, I don't know if you recognize that name.
No.
He created this famous Libertango. Dun, 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 dun. Well,
Okay.
and he was telling all the story from the beginnings of the rhythm to the Astor Piazzolla Milonga. And it was amazing, completely amazing. Because we can find that the music travels a lot. And he says something that stayed in my mind, and actually I shared this in the post, and was like, I'm going to read it because I don't want to say anything wrong. And it was like, here it is. Things are only pure if one looks at them from afar. It's very important to know our roots, to know where we come from, to know our history, but at the same time, as important as knowing where are we from is to understand that all us, deep down, are from nowhere at all and from everywhere a bit.
That's beautiful.
And I think it's amazing because in Cuba, for example, it's a huge example of that we are from everywhere a bit. Okay, I love this guy. That's why
Now
the
you're in love.
emotion. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I love his music. I'm not a classical fan that, oh my gosh, I love it. But I think I admire his music and everything. And it's important to know this. We doesn't have everything is figured out and created. We only make some I don't know aporte.
I don't know. You're looking for some weird words. Aporte is like, I don't know how to say. I would say.
We bring new things
Yeah, yeah.
or things that we think are news, but
So talking about the music in Cuba, I want you to talk about some traditional rhythms, like the trova, for example, or rumba, whatever you want to talk about. But I want to know the people about some music that they might consider like listening when they travel to Cuba, because many people come to Cuba and they're going to be nowadays either listening salsa because that's what they know about Cuba, or Cuban reggaeton. But I want to let them know that Cuba is more than just salsa
of course.
and reggaeton. So what can you tell about that?
Well, let's get started with the Mambo number 5. I think you know that song. It was so popular in their period. It was like a completely boom in the international list of musics. And the mambo is one of the traditional musics, the rhythms that you can find if you came to Cuba. The other one, it's groups, traditional groups like Septeto Santiaguero. Let me think about all. And this, I don't know, orquesta, like
I think.
that.
Yeah.
This traditional orchestra,
Or you can say band.
bands, traditional bands in all the province here in Cuba, that they create like a mixture of rumba, cha-cha-cha, mambo, everything in itself, no? Let me think. I said mambo number 5, Septeto Santiaguero, Buena Vista Social Club. A lot of people came here to see the Buena Vista. Buena Vista is world recognized for this music, traditional music. Like I was telling, the Orquesta Failde band orchestra from Matanzas, they are specialized in this rhythm, the danzón. That Failde, I think Miguel Failde was the grandpa of the director of this band, Etiel, and they celebrate this rhythm right now. Benny Moré
Of course.
is one of the most recognized names here in Cuba. Maybe I thinking about this. He has a mambo, no?
Benny Moré.
Yeah.
He has a song. Oh, what the heck? He has a song called
Pero qué bonito y sabroso bailan el mambo las mexicanas.
Esa. That
Well,
one.
here is you are listening right now. Benny Moré, it's amazing because actually he was like an autodidactic. Autodidactic. So he hasn't any music
Preparation.
He didn't go to any music school or something like that, so it was completely empiric, his talent, and it's amazing. I remember my grandmother loved his music, and all the people in that age, I'm saying like, I don't know, 40s, 50s, they were like shocking when he sings, because he sings is the past.
He was singing. I don't know how to say the past, but it's not.
Because when
That
he was
one.
singing, all the people were completely shocked because he has this movement in the stage, and it was
He was an
amazing.
artist
Yeah.
without even knowing that he was an
Yeah.
artist, yes.
Let me check another one that it's very important.
Let's talk about the trova.
Yeah,
Trova in
the new
Cuba.
trova. It's controversial. It's a controversial
Rhythm.
stage or rhythm, because in Latin America in general, the singers of this rhythm, they
Trova is a way to express yourself.
yeah,
Through the
with
music.
the guitar and some kind of poetry in the
Yeah.
music. And these singers actually they have to run away from their countries because the dictatorship that was in their countries in the 60s were a lot of dictatorships in all Latin America, and these singers like I wanna say the word, I don't know exactly, but they
Criticize.
criticize the government and the dictatorship of their countries. I'm thinking of Violeta Parra. I'm thinking of a lot of singers that have to run away because the dictatorship was against them. And in Cuba was different. In Cuba, this new trova was with the government. They celebrate all these
Changes.
changes that the revolution came to the country, And right now, if you saw maybe a political something or something like that, they use this music from Silvio, from Pablo Milanés, from Noel Nicola. They sing about the beauty of the woman and all these changes that came to Cuba with the revolution.
Is there any like specific song that you would recommend people listening if they were looking for Silvio, Pablo, or Nicola?
Silvio has a lot of songs.
Tell me one.
Well, La Masa, thinking of La Masa. I'm thinking of Óleo de una mujer con sombrero. I don't know in English how we can say. Óleo de una mujer con sombrero, La Masa. I'm thinking of the other one, la de... Ay, Dios.
Pablo.
Pablo, let me check.
One of the most famous one is Yolanda.
Yolanda,
Yolanda is a classic.
yeah.
And
A song
Nicola.
for his woman, I don't know.
And Nicola.
Te perdono. It's a beautiful song, a very beautiful song. But Silvio, I don't know. He has a lot of songs, a lot, and he has a featuring with this. I think it's Synthesis. Yeah, Synthesis, the fathers of X Alfonso. They create like an album called I think Ancestros. I think it's Ancestros. In this album they mix the trova with these rhythms from Africa, and it was amazing.
Now that you talk about X Alfonso, there is another rhythm or type of music that is alternative
Yeah.
music that is very famous in Cuba also. Actually, X Alfonso and all his family is involved into the Cuban music. And now, if you go to FAC, FAC,
Yeah,
which is
the Cuban Artist Fabric.
Fábrica de Arte Cubano, I think X Alfonso is part of that, I don't know how to say, like project.
Yeah,
And their family also. So that's one of the places, if you want to know about Cuban music, Fabrica is one of the
Yeah.
places because you're going to have like a very
a
good...
lot of things.
Yeah,
You
a
go.
very good variety.
You go at 7 p.m. and all the galleries are open, and you can see like David, maybe a speech about the work of an artist, maybe I don't know, an artisan, maybe a photographer. I don't know, everything. They have photography expositions all over the building. They have concerts from I don't know a rap battle to the symphonical orchestra. It's very contrasting and amazing because maybe you are, I don't know, in one area, they call it nave. I don't know in English, like area.
Nave basically is like a container.
Yeah, because it was a factory.
Yeah, yeah.
So they maintain these names. and maybe you are in an area with a rap battle, and then you go to another place, and in this other place it's like maybe
Trova.
a trova, and you go upstairs and you will find art everywhere. Paintings very different, maybe something very surrealistic, and then you will find realism. It's,
I mean, the day that we went, they
Yeah.
were like La Sinfónica upstairs,
oh, I love that program.
and it was like a rap battle.
Yeah, that's why
downstairs.
I'm
It's
saying
very
this.
mixed.
Because I love that day. And I remember because at 7 p.m. was this speech from David about all this work and all this trajectory, I think. It's the
path?
years that he has been working.
Yeah.
And then, what's at 8 p.m., what was it? The concert, no?
8 p.m.
8 p.m. was this concert with the Nutcracker Symphony, and it was beautiful. Then at 9 p.m. was a concert, and this alternative music came here from Rui Lopez Nusa. Here in Cuba, we have amazing musicians that has this tradition generation to generation in their families. One of example of them is Rui Lopez Nusa with all his Jaro Lopez Nusa, all the family, and Lopez Gavilan. Guido Lopez Gavilan, Aldo Lopez Gavilan, all these guys from these families had this tradition of music generation to generation, and it's amazing, and we enjoyed it a lot. Because maybe some people say, oh, with only a piano and a trumpet you will dance. Yeah, you will dance, and the video says a lot about it, and was amazing. Then it was like a DJ, so you will find a lot of things in only one place.
It's up to you. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear?
Yeah,
In
and it's
Fabrica you
cheap
have.
for
Yeah, I think it's 200 pesos, something
yeah,
like that.
200 pesos. Right now, it's actually like €1 or dollar with the current currency in Cuba. So I think it's the place. Because maybe you will find some galleries or some concerts in different places, like maybe Tropicana, or maybe, I don't know, a National Hotel, or stuff like that. But in this place, you have everything included in one night. You have to check the program, because I think they open from Thursdays to Sundays. If you came to Havana, for example, to Monday, from Monday to Wednesday, you couldn't go. But if you will stay here on the weekends, you really need to visit Fabrica. It's the place. And they have a lot of taxis outside, so you can pick one and
easy.
go to your house. It's not complicated at all. And it's in the middle of Vedado, a very centric location, so it's easy for the people. A lot of people know about that place. What other place do you recommend?
For the Cuban
Cultural,
culture?
yeah. This one is in Havana. Like this, but maybe more, I don't know, bohemian is the word in English.
I think Fabrica is the most complete, but
Mejunje, it's in Santa Clara, in Villa Clara province. It's called El Menjunje de Silverio. And they have like all these trova singers, and it's more bohemian, like I was telling to you, but it's a very recognized place, and people like it.
when it comes to culture in Cuba, music, Fabrica. Dancing or popular dancing in Cuba, this place that I like, but many people knows about that, which is Tropicana. And then traditional music,
Buena Vista?
Buena Vista Social Club.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean,
And you can find, for example, in Inglaterra Hotel Hill in Old Havana, a lot of musicians of traditional music that are very good. You will find them. And if you are lucky, and maybe in the Galeano Street or in the Malecon, they have like all these huge concerts with traditional music and timba. You can enjoy it too. Now, I'm thinking, I mentioned the Malecon right now. In August, and that was one of the questions, we have the Havana Carnival. It's not like the carnival in the years before the revolution, but it's a celebration that people like it too much. And it's, I think, in a week, no? With all this music and festivities around the Malecon. And it's a very different experience. Years ago, finished the Fire Festival, and the other name that it's recognized is Caribbean Festival in Santiago.
okay.
It's huge, I mean, they celebrate the traditions of all the Caribbean countries. Mexico, it's amazing and it's very huge. They have like all this fire, pyrotechnia, and all these stuffs. And it's a very good place to go. In August, from August 1st to 5, I think, it's the Jibara Film Festival. I think it's the name. Years ago, it was recognized as poor film festival, but right now it's not poor film festival at all. And people love it.
You talk about the poor cinematography because people that used to go there because they had not like a small budget to film.
And actually, it's interesting because I was the other day seeing a reel of a girl talking about the things that you couldn't do if you are poor. It was a joke, you know. And she said, you couldn't go to the theaters or the ballet. And I was thinking that here in Cuba, the prices...
That was a joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, in other countries, actually, it's very, very high, the cost of this ballet.
It's expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive. And here, if you can have it for less than $1 or euro. And this concert from the symphonic orchestra in other country will be very expensive. So it's amazing. I don't know what I was saying. Oh my gosh.
That's it. I mean, we've been talking a lot about that.
Yeah.
Actually, we need to have more podcasts.
Yeah, this is a very huge
Topic.
with a lot of things included. So we have, for example, the music and the different age of music and the different styles and the influence. It's one podcast.
And there's some topics that we haven't spoke, but for example, the architecture is very important when it comes to the culture in Cuba. But I want to have an architecture here. We need to bring one.
Maybe I could do something about it. Let me check.
I have one, which is my aunt, but I don't know if she speaks English or not. So that's it. I think this podcast is very useful for those who wants to come to Cuba to know more about the culture. And
I post this thing asking people if they have any question, because maybe we don't know. And if you have any question about it, maybe you are coming on August or September, or do you want to know what are the main activities or festivities that are happening in that month? So you can tell us in the comments or Instagram or whatever you want, or threads. So we can do all the research and then talking about it. Okay. Or maybe you want to see an architect or a writer. I don't know. Whatever you want.
Yeah. So that was it, guys. See you in the next podcast. If you want to listen to this, we are in more than 18 platforms and video podcast here on YouTube. I'm gonna say it now, but I wanted to wait for that podcast. But we're gonna be launching some new services, which are going to be all-inclusive trips to Cuba, because right now we're offering custom services.
Yeah.
It is complicated because you could say, okay, I would love to know to Cuba, but you need to think about that. And I don't want you to think. It's like we have this like completely all-inclusive service for you. You didn't even touch the money. You just come.
From accommodation, transportation,
everything.
Experiences.
You don't have to touch the money. I mean, you can bring some cash if you want to tip, if you want to buy some stuff. But typically, it's like, don't think about Cuba. We have everything for you. And you're going to have the itinerary. You're going to have everything ahead. So you know what you're going to do.
That's your dream when you're traveling to California.
Exactly.
Someone to plan your trip.
I don't want to plan anything. And we know how hard it is when you travel and planning all this stuff. And it's even more harder.
Words.
Yeah.
In Cuba is words.
Yeah. So that's the plan. Let's wait for that podcast. And then we're going to shoot another one, which is going to be all about the traditions in Cuba.
Perfect.
So that was it. Thank you so much. And thank you, Gabby.
Thank you, Alex.
See you guys in the next one. Chao pescado, vuelta picadillo.